Real Talk with Dr. Howard. What is that all about? Real Talk, you know what, I'm glad to be on the show myself because, you know, I always enjoy talking with you about all the circumstances that we hear about and see when it relates to cancer, Dr. Howard. And, you know, I'm really excited that you're going to be able to represent the voice of the people, you know, in the sense that, you know, we can just really get right down to the nitty gritty on some of the issues. So what is Real Talk with Dr. Howard going to be? I mean, we're on the Shamblu setting and we see Real Talk with Dr. Howard. What does that actually mean for the people?
My father died of cancer when I was young.
Oh, really? Mine too, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't know, but
Yeah.
you know, I was still in high school and I saw him get ill. And at that time, this was in the '60s, there wasn't much going on. There wasn't much treatment available. Diagnosis was tough, and by the time people got diagnosed, it was you know, pretty severe. At that point, I thought to myself, I'm going to get to a point where I can help people. That's where it started. And going through school, I decided, well, you know, how am I going to get there? And I thought research was a place to go for me. And got into doing research and wound up getting into the pharmaceutical industry probably about almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
And
30 years ago?
Well, about 30 years ago.
I should have been born in Brooklyn, drinking the Brooklyn water too, you know?
Yeah, Brooklyn's a place to be from, that's for sure. But you know, getting into the industry to really try and help people.
Yeah.
And you know, did research, got some help from some of the companies to get products out, drugs out to help people who were suffering.
Yeah.
And one of them, in fact, was to prevent cancer, which was great.
Yeah.
And after you know moving on from industry into practice again, cancer was a natural place for me to go.
Yeah, well, you mentioned a couple of really, really big topics there. You know, first of all, when you alluded to your family and the experience you had, it touched you personally and it sort of motivated you to really get in and really be hands-on, you know. And then you brought up the big word, you know, pharmaceutical, you know. And it seems as if, you know, the whole world has this opinion of pharmaceutical companies, and I'm not quite sure if it's the accurate opinion. I don't know if it's a true depiction of what pharmaceutical companies really do to contribute to the advancements in cancer or even other diseases. But
well, I got to tell you, I mean, being in a company, and I worked in large pharmaceutical and I worked in startup pharmaceutical, and it's two very different worlds, but both are looking to get to the same point.
Yeah.
Help people.
Yeah.
And you go about it in different ways, and the outside world looking in doesn't really know what's happening on that daily basis.
Yeah.
And the trials and tribulations of getting to a point of saying, we think we have something to help somebody.
Yeah. You know, my family and friends that I've heard of, people who maybe were dealing with cancer in later times or a long time ago, they had an opinion that, you know, maybe something's wrong with me. I've done something wrong. And it was kind of like a taboo. I can't tell people I have cancer. Do you think that cancer sort of changed in terms of the approach or how people in society embrace others?
I think it has. I mean, I remember back when I was a kid watching, you know, my father being sort of pushed aside and, you know, kept away from society and people being very scared.
Yeah.
You know, not, you know, contact with him was, as it advanced, becoming less and less for most people.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't know how to deal with it.
Sure.
And that's a tough situation. And most people today, I still think, don't know how to deal with it.
Yes, I know.
I think we try and help more the patient.
Yeah.
And the patient to understand what's happening, and the immediate family around them to understand what it means in life. And cancer is part of life. It's not death.
That's right.
And that's the important part to remember. And we try and get everybody else around them and hopefully to understand that it's part of life.
You know, and I'm glad you used that type of terminology because that's exactly what we do here at Shamblu. And that's what we hope to achieve even through your show and other segments we have here at the show. We're building this community. So it's not just a person going through this alone. It's not even just a group of people who are saying, we are cancer, we're trying to fight for research, we're trying to fight for funding. We have insurance in some cases, and we're trying to get, you know, access to more fundings to maybe close the gap with things like about transportation or co-pays. It's an enormous challenge of our society. But at Sharon Blue, I mean, and particularly in your show, I mean, you'll be actually representing the voice of the people, which I think is really kind of cool, because as people send information into us, comments, questions, and requests for various topic coverage, I know you'll be intercepting that and kind of looking through what has been the most prominent or most frequent of these requests, and maybe putting together some content, and maybe even bring in some other hosts on your show as well, right? I mean,
I think it's important, Mark, that we do something like this, because individuals, it's difficult for them to act alone.
Yeah.
And by putting them together and saying, gee, you're not alone thinking this is a problem. This problem exists for many people.
Yeah.
And maybe it's something that we can hone in on.
Yeah.
Bring people together, bring the concept into focus for everybody, so they'll have a better way forward and know how to work through those issues, and maybe even provide them with the access to the tools they need to work through those issues.
I think through Real Talk with Dr. Howard, we're really excited that people can, feel great about emailing you. I'm sure you can't wait to open all the emails
I can't wait.
and the phone calls. And you know what? We welcome that. We look forward to that. This, as you can see, is a very relaxed environment. We really appreciate your attitude about this and the fact that you have no problem being very transparent, bringing in information about your own family and really relating to people. So I'm very excited about what you're going to do with Real Talk with Dr. Howard, and I look forward to a fantastic segment, and we look forward to sharing it with the community.
Well, thanks, Mark. I look forward to being here
Thank
and
you.
communicating with the community.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll see you soon.